Welcome to another Ortelia Curator video tutorial. In this video tutorial we're going to be looking at lighting, how to create lights, how to place them and how to adjust them. So you'll see in the scene that we've got in front of us that we already have a few lights placed and they're actually on these sculptures. So with the lights tab enabled, I'll just simply click with my left mouse button and that selects the light and you can see where it's pointing to. In addition to this, you can also see what type of light is currently being used, and here are the various options for controlling that light as well as color. So let's make our way to a spot in the gallery that doesn't currently have lighting. So let's have a look over here at these ones here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the default light. And I simply click create, and you'll note that we now have a light which is attached to our cursor. And for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to place that light just there on the ceiling. Now you'll note that as I move around, the light where I'm aiming the light follows the cursor. So I'll just put it just in the middle of this painting, and clearly this is far too bright. So what I'm going to now do is first of all reduce the angle. Note that as you reduce the angle, the intensity will increase. So we'll now drop off the intensity as well. And I can also play with the focus of the light, so I can make it much softer. It's often easier to bring the ambient light right down in the gallery so you can test your different lighting options. So we'll go for about that, and I think we'll make it a much softer focus on the light, and then we'll bring our ambient light back up. Now of course I can change the type of light this is, so instead of just being a default light which is quite generic, I'll make my way down, and what I'm going to go for is a LED display profile. So there it is. It's obviously a lot brighter. Again, I'm quite happy with the angle, but I'd like to make it a much softer focus. Also with this light, I now have the option of shutters or barn doors. So at the moment we've currently got the top shutter selected. So I can now change the position of that shutter to determine where the light is going to go or how much light I want on my painting. So once again, let's just drop the ambient light. Let's make the focus quite sharp so we can see what's going on, and we can now adjust the position of our light. So I'd like it to start just at the top. I also want the bottom shutter to come up somewhat, so I'll bring that up to about there. And I want the same to happen with the left and right shutters. So now if we bring our ambient light back up, we can see that we've quite clearly lit this particular artwork. Now of course the choice of light is going to depend very much on what the application is. So for example, you wouldn't want to use a Fresnel in such a close proximity. It just won't work, and it's quite bright. And so the best thing to do is just make your way through and see which lights are best, or if you have a particular light type in the gallery, then you can replicate it from here. Now because I'm happy with this particular shape of light and I've got it selected here, I'm just going to simply click create, and that will make a replica of that light, which I will now use over here. I may need to, as you can see, it's slightly skewed, so I would have to make some adjustments. And that's essentially how you now go through and create as many lights as you want. Of course, as was stated earlier, be aware of the type of light you're using and what you want to use it for. Next, we'll look at how to mix colors with lights. Okay, now what we're going to do is create another light, but we'll make this one just a default light so we can understand how the color works. I'm going to create this light, and once again, I'm going to put this one up here on the lighting rail, and I'll point it just here. Now I'm going to reduce the angle somewhat, and I'm going to reset my barn doors on the default light so that we've got essentially a circle. Okay, so there we go. Now I'll reduce the angle somewhat and I'll set it to that. Now what I can do is choose color from the color palette to adjust my light. Now what's happening here is because the light is so bright, it's washing out the color in the middle. So if I was to drop the intensity off, you'll note that the color is now starting to be more like what we expect. Okay, so we've got that one, and I'm going to replicate this by simply clicking Create again. This time I'll place the light here, and I want to overlap it with the other light, and I want to make this one red. And I'll create one more light. I'll put that here, drop it down there, and make this one green. Now you note that we're getting a lot of washing out where the lights overlap, and you would expect that, but we're also getting color mixing. So if we just quickly go through and start dropping the intensity off each one of these lights, and as soon as you select it, you can adjust its settings. So there we have a simple light mix. You can always tell which particular light is selected because it will turn red, and when it's not selected, it will actually replicate the color that it's projecting. So you can go through your gallery and apply as many lights as you like. Also note that as you apply your light and aim it, you're going to get the distance from the light to the wall. So anytime I click aim, it's going to update those settings. And note how the light catches any surface which is in its path. If you are happy with a particular color of the light that you've got, simply click Save, and it fills in this particular box. Now that means that the next time I create a light, so over here I'll create one more light and point it down in here and make it red. Now for whatever reason I've decided I want the original color, I simply click on the flood tab, or on the button, and the light is now green, as you can see. The only thing to be aware of with lights is that they can be quite computationally expensive, so be careful how you use them. And what I mean by that is that if you've just got a lot of lights in a scene for the sake of having a lot of lights in the scene, you can, depending on your hardware, expect some sort of performance hits. And that's pretty much all that's involved in placing lights and creating them.